when I reconnected with my twin sister, I had that rush of energy from my feet up to my head. But the feeling I had was such as somebody would zip me all the way up, really getting that sense of suddenly everything was reconnected and I was made as a whole person again. And really, it was one of the most beautiful experiences in my life.
Hello, and welcome to our second season of Energy Healing Conversations and Spiritual Awakenings. Today, we're going to be listening when life speaks to us. Today, I have Claire-Aude with us, and I'm really, really excited to introduce her to today's podcast. Claire-Aude, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Cindy, and it's a pleasure to be with you. So I'm Claire-Aude, the founder of Shoe Healing. I'm a fully certified and accredited energy healer. I also do tarot readings, and I'm one of the tutors and mentors for the school on the Healing Energy course. I'm based in London and I work mostly remotely with French and English speaking clients. So they can be, in France, Belgium, Canada, or even in New Zealand. What deeply shapes my work to healing is light. My father was a keen photographer, and I think I kind of inherited that from him. And when I'm working with energy or myself taking photos, in both cases, it's really about helping people to notice the light that's already there and reconnect with it, even if they are in the middle of the storm.
Beautiful. Thank you, Claire-Aude. Today, I'm really curious around your story. And I don't believe I've heard your full story before, so I'm really excited to do a deep dive in. What I do know, though, is that you discovered later in life that you were originally a twin. How do you think this shaped you and your life?
So, this kind of thing is actually, you know it without knowing it. And one day you have the opportunity to discover about it. What was really interesting was in my 20s, I had been offered to do a session with an hypnotherapist. And I got really anxious and I said, no way, I'm not going. And when I've been asked why, I said, I'm too afraid about what I'm going to find out. And I had many clues, recurring dreams I could not explain, strange feelings, weird ways to do certain things. Without having any explanation, anything. And in Brussels, I was in my mid-40s. I met that lovely and extremely patient lady, and I booked a session with her. And I'm saying extremely patient because my mind was resisting so strongly. It took literally hours to have me that kind of floating state. Really, I reconnected energetically with my twin sister. And one of the things I had, from people were just like, how do you know this was real? And what was extremely potent for me was that physically, I've always felt like before I had, the two sides of my body were not connected. It was kind of the right would move forward and then the left, but not getting that sense of, having the whole body moving forward, to the point that I had a really slight eye issue, went to an ophthalmologist who explained that each eye usually overlaps the visual field. And my case, I was having literally a gap in front of me. And during the session, when I reconnected with my twin sister, I had that rush of energy from my feet up to my head. But the feeling I had was such as somebody would zip me all the way up, really getting that sense of suddenly everything was reconnected and I was kind of made as a whole person again. And really it was one of the most beautiful experiences in my life. I had some tears of joy, and everything made sense. Suddenly, everything was as a giant puzzle. Kind of every piece felt back into place.
How interesting. I have a question that I'd really like to ask about that specific experience. Or do you feel so clearly? Did your twin sister pass away after birth or in the womb?
When my mother was pregnant, at that time, we're talking 70s, you would have no x-rays or things like that. So my mother was told that she had a miscarriage because she was bleeding. And after a couple of months, they were just like, no, actually, it didn't happen because you're still pregnant. But at that time, the doctor, I don't know if he knew, didn't want to say, or didn't even think of it. But things were, I mean, in a way, could be proven.
Just energetically, they say once you knew that there was another half of you energetically, you felt more whole in yourself, which is really lovely. Do you feel your twin around you often, or was it just that one experience?
So one of the fun things was I've never had an imaginary friend, as some people that they have, but I've always have a name in my mind. And when I would be playing with my cousins or with friends, that name would be the name I would use, with a Barbie doll or whatever. And when I shared right after the session the experience with my children, one of my sons asked me what was her name. And when I said, technically she had no name because she was not born. So she was not given a name. And I said, this is the name I've always had at the back of my mind. And very interestingly, because I didn't think of it, he looked back at me and he said that was the perfect blend between my father's and my mother's first name. So even that
Ah,
was such a piece of evidence, kind of I was aware of that. And before being named an only born twin, uh, I've always felt like I had to do things not just more than others, but kind of twice. I would always be after people struggling with things, and it was not the getting into the hero mode, but I always felt like I had to take things on my shoulder really much more than everybody else. And really, I mean, yes, having that sense, I was feeling, I had a sentence when I was much younger. And when people would ask me, oh, why are you taking this responsibility on you? Or you shouldn't, or you're always taking more and more. And I always said, nature abhors a vacuum. So to me, I was just, I missed her. And I was feeling that gap next to me. Um, I felt her a few, a few times. I could feel she was sort of by my side protecting me. Um, and one day she sort of disappeared. So I was like, okay, maybe she's somewhere. The way I was doing things, I'm not saying I was doing things wrong, but the way I was doing things during the past 45 years. And it provided such a relief. Really, that was a game. That was not the only one, but that was a real game changer.
Well, thank you for sharing that because we've got some other things that we'd like to ask you about because you had a very, very busy life. You're a mother of four children, and life was crazy. And I want you just to talk a little bit about kind of what was happening because we had the realization of the twin, but there were other realizations, there were other points, and I'd like you just to explain that part of your story to the audience.
I think for a long time I received some very gentle nudges, in a way that you may hear birds singing in the distance, but it's not loud enough to make you actually stop and listen. So one of the gentle nudges I got, I was in my mid-30s and I went to an Ethiopathe, and she asked me, because there's a French story about the oak tree and the reed, and she asked me which I identified with more. And I was very proud at that time to say, oh, the old and wise tree, of course. And she went sort of, beep, wrong answer. And she explained to me at that time that the oak tree actually can survive many storms, but when it breaks and finds itself with the roots being exposed, it can take ages or maybe never that oak tree is going to be able to ground itself again. When if you go for the hollow reed, I mean, you move, you dance, you adapt, you survive. And I can recall that intellectually, I found that image really powerful, but I had no clue how to use it in as you said, I had a very full life, with plenty of things to do and to hold together. So that was on the gentle side. On the less kind side, my father passed away in 2012, and we were extremely close. And even if I knew, because he was ill, that it was, that moment was getting closer and closer, I think that was one of the day I pressed pause and really started questioning my life, but questioning out loud. And I can recall talking with friends and just joking and saying, I've just discovered that I had a belly button. They were like, what do you mean? I was like, you know what? I exist. I have a body. I have needs. I have limits, but nobody is caring for me. And actually, what I understood is nobody was going to take care of those things for me except me. And that thing made me starting putting things into place, very tiny things, because yeah, 24-hour day was not enough for me to do everything what I had to achieve within a day. But certain very little things, such as you opening the shutters and you're having a look at the sky. Doesn't have to be blue, but just getting that sense of connection, of something bigger than you, being part of something bigger, before rushing into the day, getting ready, getting the children ready and things like that. And another thing I started doing, and I can tell you, in Paris, people were staring at me being like, is she nuts? Was smiling in the street. And you have nobody smiling back at you, but you persevere. And one day you have one person and then two. And it really became something very important to me, and I still do. And when I'm around in London, if within 10 minutes I don't have somebody smiling back at me, I'm really questioning myself, and I'm like, oh, okay, is there something wrong? Am I upset about something? Am I stuck in my thoughts? And the lesson I get is I'm actually disconnected with life, and I need to reconnect with that. So yeah, that was a huge step for me.
So that was a big step when your father died, and you started realizing you were disconnected from your whole, and you just chipped away. But then also there was a time where there was you got unwell, and how did that shift? Because it's sounding like there were it wasn't just one awakening; it was incremental shifts. Do you want to talk about the shift around, and also what was going on for you in your life? What were these messages? Why did these messages come to you?
So when I was 45, so about at the same time when I found out about my twin sister, everything bottlenecked at once. You know, getting that understanding that I was holding things together and I had for decades. I made some major life changes, such as filing for divorce. And right after, really within weeks, my body collapsed, and I find myself in hospital with diagnosed with septicemia. And I can recall having the doctor coming to me and just saying, "You should not be talking to us right now. You should be in coma." And that sentence really stopped me completely, because I think until then, and especially, when you early in your life, when you're 20, you feel like you're invincible. Physically, mentally, you're rolling. And that was my mindset. Uh, but I think I always believed that I could find a solution to everything. And if there was a wall, I would find a way around it. I would find a way to make it lower, shorter, anything. And suddenly what I was facing, especially because after I had surgery and after they found some precancerous cell, uh, I, it was something I could not outthink, not postpone, not even push away. I had to deal with it. It was not about fixing it, but it was about understanding it, getting the lesson. And the lesson was actually, uh, despite my previous intention, I had made no room for my belly button. And I got down that road because I was not listening. And now I had to deal with a huge thing. And it took, at that time uh, to get healthy again, it took me 18 months. But 18 months working on and with my body, on and with my mind, on and with my whole energy field, and with the doctors on one side and with alternative medicines on the other side. So it was really something you cannot avoid, and you have to go through. That's really that sense of bottleneck. You need to go through that event to be able to actually pop out at the other end.
What kept you going through the bottleneck? What were the things? I mean, if you think back to that time, what were the things that kept you going? What kept you moving forward? Or were there times you moved forward and sometimes moved backwards?
I can recall I had been asked this sort of question, and and I answer saying I have three priorities right now. That was my children, my job, because I needed my income, and my health. But funnily enough, I really got hit, and I think I was almost in shock when, you go from one medical appointment to another one, and each time you're arriving, you get a kind of unpleasant news. You get, something not nice, not interesting, not. But to me, it was, I can do it. It's just I felt completely responsible for me getting there, getting down to that point, but also fully responsible for getting me out. And I think I had great people around me, supporting me. Actually, I'm going to say there are other things in my life I found harder to go through. The health issue felt like there's a solution. There's something to understand, but to fully understand, and there's a solution behind or beyond.
So the physical was the easier part rather than the emotional and the mental from reshaping your life. Is that what you're saying? So reshaping one life physically and doing the right things. But I mean, in order, my understanding of healing, in order to heal, one needs to heal the spiritual, the mental, and the emotional in order in times for the physical to start shifting and changing. So I guess it was incremental in all of the bodies.
Yeah, and I worked as a school teacher for 15 years. And when you work with children, actually, you work with the families. And when you work with them, you go through everything, some joys, some difficulties, struggles, even traumatic events. So going along their side, I think helped me at the same time understanding, because the thing is not happening to you, it's happening to somebody else. So you're a witness there. You're a witness, you're trying to support, you're trying to help them. But you have that sense of mirroring, and then you understanding more. And at that time also, I started attending some workshops, seminars, and eventually, not at the end of the road, but after years, I enrolled on a healing energy course. So it was really trying to reshape the physical, and then getting some room available to work on the emotional. And when you feel a bit better, you're making some room again to work on them. And so I would say, to me, it was really kind of going that way, almost being in a staircase, and doing one step at a time. I don't think I would have had the energy to work on the 4 levels from the very beginning. I needed some to regain some strength in a way to work on another level, and on another level, and on another level.
That's lovely. Do you want to talk a little bit, Claire-Aude, about your life now, having gone through these challenges? What does life look like today? How is the physical today? How is your emotional life? Where are you at in your life at this point?
So the physical feels great. And is great. I'm still paying attention to it. Um, doing the course was really interesting, because when I started, I felt like I had done a lot of work and there was very little left. But actually, you're getting into more subtlety, and you're grinding things, and you're having another look at it. One of the lessons, I think, I still use today, is If you're not ready, you're not ready. It's very frustrating, it's annoying, but you're not ready, and you can have somebody talking to you and saying, oh, this is going to happen. You need to be able to really open up and start working. So it's a very today it's something I keep on reflecting on, being like, is this, there's always something to work on. At the same time, I don't want to get crazy about, oh, you know, it's about enjoying life too. And it's about what I would do before, such as, naturally, as I said, much younger, I would go and help people out, I would support them. That's a path now I chose consciously, such as this is my work, this is what I do, this is what I want to be able to do, because I think that when you're going through all kind of experiences in your life, it makes you more compassionate, more receptive, getting some perspective, and then you can help people around you. And that's something I really want to be of service, even if I know that not every healer, therapist, teacher, or even boss is the right person for everyone. It's a two-way ongoing process, which is completely, part of my life. And, and some days you have to be just kind of gentle with yourself. But now I have my own reminder. I don't need somebody to knock at the door and say, be kind to yourself.
And that's really lovely, because I think by nature, anyone listening to these podcasts, or people that I interview on the podcast, are by nature inquirers and curious about life. And when you become curious and dig deep, you find things. But then there are also the times, like we explained, like your illness, this feeling different in your body. These kind of lead us into ways of going deeper into our energy and into our field. What I'd love to ask you, which I ask everyone, is if somebody's listening today and feels the beginning of curiosity about energy healing and consciousness, and don't know where to start, what do you recommend? Where do you if people are curious before they get knocked on the head, or if they have been knocked on the head and they're curious, depending. And when I say knocked on the head, it's one of these life-changing situations, or some life-changing situations, where you're looking, you're searching, you're seeking. What would you say to them?
I would give you two answers. The very first one is, I would say, about tiny rituals, and not about trying to do something because somebody told you to do it. So it's really about finding something for yourself that gives you pleasure. And it can be sing along, reach out to a friend, go for a coffee. I mean, you know me, I'm a big chocolate lover. So it's really about finding pleasure in something, but trying to have it anchoring your day every day. Because sometimes when you start thinking, just planning something, you need room for that. And I think it's a way to show up for yourself. So that would be my kind of emergency answer. You need that, and really don't have to go big and book a massage. Just something tiny, and and reaching out. I think it's a big thing, not staying on your own. And just because when it gives you pleasure, you start smiling, And when you smile, it's really all your being feeling and benefiting from that smile, because it's just slightly changing something in your energy field. It's not just your mindset, it's your whole energy field. And once you've been able to show up for yourself in a tiny way, I love reading. So usually I would say, yeah, reading books and things like that. But when reading books or listening to a podcast, it's a great way to open a door. But to me, it's quite intellectual. It stays up there. So my advice would be book a class. Just half a day, one day, but make it real. Experience it completely and with somebody by your side. And that way you feel safe. You can really go far or go deep or as little as you want. But for me, going for the class, it's something really it opens your mind. It opens your understanding. It gives you clues. It's um, it's a proper step you can be proud of.
That is fantastic, and thank you. That is such good advice, and a good recommendation for our audience. So thank you very much. And Claire-Aude, thank you so much for coming today, for spending the time, for sharing your story. I'm sure there's somebody out there who needed to hear that, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Very much appreciated too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.